Morning, everyone. Welcome to our Q&A in August. I can't believe how this summer is flying by. Anybody else? I've had some great questions this month, so I'm excited to be able to answer them here. And with that, I will start with our first question. This person writes, "My husband has a really stressful job. He has things he loves to do, like listen to podcasts and watch TV. I was wondering if there's anything I can do to help him with his stress level when he comes home." And this is such a sweet, caring question, I thought, because obviously, if your partner is stressed, well, we co regulate. We, as human beings, can pick up on other people's emotions, and being able to sense that something is off with someone else is going to affect our physiology too. So I would say, on that note, co regulation is key to this question. And it also depends on the openness of your husband as to whether he wants to do anything to make this change for himself. What I would recommend is, if he's open to it, then practicing breathing techniques together can be a really nice way to transition from a stressful workday into the after work evening time. Something as simple as breathing in through your nose and then a long, slow exhale through pursed lips for a few minutes. He could even do this in the car, or if he's commuting by transit, like on the bus as he's coming home. And this will just bring you from that higher stress sympathetic place down to a more relaxed and calm demeanor. If that's not in the cards, and that's also totally fine, everyone obviously gets to make their own choices about what they want to do, then I would really encourage you to work on your stress levels. And before he comes home, do things that you know will get you in a calmer state. So, whatever techniques have been helpful for you, there were some that I discussed in the recent Art of Mastering Nervous System Regulation live last week. Noticing 5 things in your environment, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, that kind of grounding experience. Also, if you have other things that you know help you, maybe that's exercise or having a really nutritious meal or getting good sleep. Those are things that you can work on in your day so that you are more likely to be calm. There are studies that show that co-regulation between parents and their kids is really key with any kind of behavioral issues. And when I was in this program hosting a small group, I guess it was like a TA position, they had so many different kinds of participants. And one woman was there solely because she had kids with behavioral issues. And she said the nervous system regulation was incredible in the kids. She said that they started this system where they had this jar, and she would write different kinds of drills or exercises and put them in the jar, and then the kids would get to choose one when they came home. And I'm not saying that your husband necessarily would want to do something like this, but even if you had some options for yourself, she said she and her husband also started to do nervous system regulation exercises throughout their day. And as a result, her kid went from having, I think, like 6 temper tantrums in a day. She said he would come into her face and yell in her face to once, maybe in a month and a half. So the changes were incredible. And yes, the kids were also doing work on that somatic nervous system healing side of things. However, it was also their parents who were building their capacity to be able to tolerate the different mood changes and also have a better capacity to handle stress. And that really helped, she thought, in being able to believe that, okay, we can do this for ourselves, and now we can hold space and have more patience for the kids to do it. So, with that, even if your husband doesn't necessarily want to do anything on his own, I get it. Sometimes after a long day, even just being able to lie down or sit quietly is a great way to transition so that you can just relax. And if you have stuff going on in your head, an inner critic voice or chatter, maybe he needs to do something more active as soon as he gets home. Maybe you go for a walk together, and that walk, getting exercise helps to dissipate stress and cortisol. So being able to plan for that after work would be another option, and you don't have to tell him that it's to help regulate his nervous system, but getting that fresh air, getting your heart rate up is really helpful. And maybe at that point, you can talk about what's been going on in each of your days and share the stresses if that is something that appeals to both of you. Anyway, hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions following my response there. And let's move on to our next question. I had someone who was asking me about procrastination. How can I overcome procrastination and finally achieve the goals that matter most to me? This one is a pretty common complaint, especially in people who are high achievers, perfectionists, and have a lot of things that they want to get done, but the standards for which they have to do them are high. And whether or not this is an external imposition of high standards or something self imposed, I would argue that it tends to be more self imposed. And if they were to put out a mediocre piece of work, in their opinion, everyone else would still think it was just fine. I had a conversation with someone yesterday and it reminded me of this topic. But really, I think part of it is going to be around exploring what you feel is the reason for needing to have these goals and what the goals mean to you, and also how you're going to get there. So maybe your goal is financial or weight loss or weight release, as I've heard recently. Maybe you're looking at losing 10 pounds or something. Ask yourself why you need to lose that weight. Is it for the health benefits? Is it so that your clothes fit better and you have more self confidence? Is it so that you can feel stronger and more mobile? Is it so that you can age gracefully? Whatever the reason, figure out what it is and notice your values around that reason. And also see if you can catch yourself with any beliefs that might be hiding in there. Perhaps if it is around weight loss and aesthetics, do you need to lose weight to look a certain way because society tells you that you should, or because you feel that it would be in your best interest and better for your health? Those are questions that you can ask around that topic. For the financial side of things, for example, maybe you need to have the money to pay for a mortgage or to help your kids get into college. Whatever the reason, tying it to a bigger why can be really helpful. Anyway, break down your goals once you figured out what is underneath those goals and why it's so important for you to achieve those things. You can start to break them down into smaller steps. And this is really key because when you look at habits and changing behavior, all of that is rooted at an unconscious level. And it can be really hard to change things if your conscious mind and your unconscious mind are not aligned. And when we can create that alignment, in figuring out why it is that we want to do what we are setting out to do, then we can start to make progress towards it in a way that's not overwhelming. I know that most of you here are likely stressed and overwhelmed on a regular basis. Let me know if that sounds like you. And you don't need 50 big goals to achieve that have a bajillion steps underneath them. I would encourage you to pick one thing. And even if that thing seems big, start to break it down into manageable chunks underneath. What is the first thing that you need to do to make that goal happen? If it's, let's say, you don't want to use your phone after 9 p.m. and you've been using your phone and scrolling through social media and it's upsetting your sleep and it's just not helping you to stay alert and awake in the morning. Let's backtrack to what you're going to do about this situation. Maybe you need to find another place to charge your phone. Perhaps it's in the kitchen or in the bathroom, somewhere away from where you're going to be spending your evening. And instead of just taking away a habit, it's very helpful to replace it with something else. So in this case, else could you do that isn't looking at your phone? I know I've gotten into reading in the evenings lately. What else? I would love to hear what you guys are doing in the evenings. You could read, you could watch a show with your family, you could do some exercise or light stretching. Again, you could go for a walk if you felt like getting outside. Maybe you could listen to some calming music or do a meditation or a breathwork practice. There are so many things that you could do that don't require screen time. And then say, great, we've replaced that. That was a small thing you could do, find a different charging spot. And then maybe because you're tempted to use your phone while you're in bed, you actually need to purchase a physical alarm clock as well. I have an old school alarm clock. I've had it since high school. It works great, and it wakes me up with the radio, which is like way better, in my opinion, than having a cell phone going off. And then I can see, oh, I have emails, I have messages, there are notifications. Does anyone else get like that in the morning, tempted to check your phone? I also suggest that if you are struggling to stay off of your phone, there are ways that you can make the phone look less appealing to you at night. And I know we're veering away from procrastination, but we're breaking down something that you might want to do as a goal or a habit. And this is just more interesting, I think, from a neurological standpoint. But there are apps that you can use to make your screen grayscale, and then your brain's not as excited about the phone. You can also set do not disturb on, say starting at 9 o'clock, so that the notifications from different apps aren't popping up and distracting you and tempting you to check it. And then again, physical proximity, you could just put it somewhere else. So that's what I was thinking in terms of overcoming procrastination, and maybe using your phone is a route of procrastination for you. I can certainly relate to that. And sometimes when I know I have stuff to do, I actually need to put my phone out of reach so that there's no temptation to look at it or hear it buzzing or something like that. And you know what? If it's an emergency, someone will be able to get a hold of you, or you can set a timer and then put your head down, do whatever it is that you need to do, and come back to it whenever you have the chance. Are you scrolling through the apps going, well, it didn't alert me, but maybe something's happening on Facebook or Instagram? I know how that goes too. One of the other things that I just mentioned that I wanted to highlight as a way to help with productivity as well as to back up against or to help you with the procrastination is to set yourself 25-minute little periods of work or productivity time with 5 minutes of a break in between so that you know you can sit down and start working on something and it's not going to be forever. If you can, standing up and doing a little bit of movement, maybe grabbing a drink of water and staying hydrated in that time between your 25-minute sets can be very helpful in giving you the longevity to keep working through whatever it is that you're doing. I guess the caveat would be if you're working on something that allows you to spend hours doing it, maybe you set a timer so that you don't end up doing everything in that project for the whole day. Because usually, if you can get into it, it's easier to find that flow state than if you're constantly coming back and checking other things, coming back and then getting off track. And all of those distractions can really help to pull you away from the task at hand. I would also recommend that if there is something that you don't want to do, maybe examine why you haven't been doing it. Maybe it's something that doesn't actually line up with what it is that you value. I was finding that last year, for example, when I did live launches, there was so much resistance to the live launch. And I think it was just overall the uncertainty of how everything was going to go, how to use all the tech, what people were going to think. And so I started to cultivate more self compassion around, hey, it's okay if I don't want to do this thing. And it's also okay if I do it and it's not perfect, because complete is better than perfect, right? This is something that I've had to learn over the years, but I am thinking of someone in particular who I spoke with recently who's also having a hard time here, wanting everything to be done, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, but knowing that there is a finite amount of time for things to happen. And so being able to figure out if you are working on a big project, maybe it's what is the minimum that needs to get done? And then beyond that, what are some extras that would be nice, however, may not be as necessary? And I think when you can pare down your list, It makes it feel a lot lighter and a lot more manageable for you. And my last suggestion for procrastination is to find an accountability buddy. And even if it's someone who has no idea what it is that you're doing, just checking in maybe at the end of the day or with each other on your respective goals or projects can be really helpful for keeping you on track and allowing you to feel supported along the way, where you're asking for each other's wins or celebrating your successes. I like doing this with my friends and my entrepreneur colleagues because it can be hard to stay motivated and focused. And it's also very easy to get distracted in this modern world of all of our devices. On that note, I just wanted to say that whatever it is that you're working on, whether you do it or not, if you can start to plug away at it a little bit at a time, if it's important to you, and just to get whatever it is that you need to do at a bare minimum, you are doing a fantastic job. Everything in our world right now is so demanding, and the fact that you're here watching this, wanting to better yourself, is really commendable, and I see you for that. So, on that note, I am going to wrap up. It's a long weekend here in BC, BC Day. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend. And I also have an announcement that I'm going to be holding a workshop in August. And even if you're not local, I am going to challenge my tech skills and figure out how to stream it to Google Meet at the same time. So I will let you know more details about that next week. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will catch you soon. Thanks, everyone.